I'm going to start my speech in three, two, one. I'm going to start by giving two response for the government team. First, they came with the mechanism of giving companies time to switch from animal farming business to plant-based business. We think this mechanism will not likely succeed because companies have the interest to make profit. When the government bench told you that the reason behind how expensive the vegan food is because there is lack of demand in the society, it will only prove to you how there is no likelihood for companies to switch their business model to something that is unprofitable and it's not demanded by the society. This will only put companies at risk to bankruptcy and closing down because switching business model means putting at risk your resource and your time, and especially knowing how the demand is low is even worse. There are spectrums of companies. Yes, the big companies might be survive and strong enough to survive during the transition that they say, but there are medium and small companies that is not as privileged. And if each and every company is being pushed to switch, this is unfair for the medium and smaller company because the big companies must have dominate the market due to also needing to survive. But the thing is that they have a strong resource like the media, marketing team, marketing research, marketing reach, and also technologies. It creates instability in the food industry in our side of the house. Those things won't happen because we stick to the status quo where we don't ban the production and consumption of meat. We enable the company to create a new line of business without having to throw away the other one. Companies will survive. Second, the problem with the farming nowadays is that we're starting to put over chemical, making the animal grow unnaturally, putting them in a small and unsanitary cages. We could make this better. We could still create a healthy farming that is not hurting the animals in our side of the house. That is possible. By letting them grow naturally, not giving them unhealthy chemical or like over giving them chemical and all of that for them to suffer, to not suffer. This is possible because it does not ban companies to fulfill the needs of society, and it is a way of making company more sustained as a part of their responsibility without making them gone bankrupt. Our stance is clear. We stick with the status quo where the meat consumption and production is not banned because we think it is crucial for the sustainability of humans, the production and consumption of meat, industry, and the culture-wise needed. The opposition bench has to prove to you how banning the production and consumption of meat is the only exclusive way to provide good. Moving on to my argument, I have three set of argument here. The first one is how eating meat is morally acceptable. The second is how there are a lack of accessibility to provide vegan food for literally all human in the society, and how culture and religion wise production and consumption of meat is needed. Moving on to my first argument, eating meat is morally acceptable. We live in a world where human is living side by side with other creatures. We are a part of this circle of life. For the beginning of the human ages, we hunt and then we learn to farm because we need to survive. So does with other creatures. It is creating a balance of number. If the opposition bench say that it is immoral for the humans to consume meat because it's hurting the animals, then so it is immoral for animals to kill other animals when we know that there are omnivores that actually have the choice to. Okay, humans have rationality to choose, but we think that eating other creature is not immoral. It is a part of a food chain. And what keeps the world sustained? Like, how does a snake eat the rats to keep the nature in balance? In the end, we still have to eat meat to keep the world in sustain because animals can't control their desire to reproduce. So consuming meat of them is, in the end, a way to balance the nature. What is wrong with the current status quo is that we torture them during the farming process, like putting them in small cages, tie them up too hard, hurting them with over chemical boost to make them fat. If we don't eat meat at all, the natural way to balance the nature will not exist. In the end, humans have to put chemical to control the production of animal. Now that is mean, that is torture, that is immoral because you're hampering, you're holding back the inherent needs of a creature to reproduce. Therefore, we oppose to not eat meat at all. The second argument is lack of accessibility. In the current status quo, vegan diet are usually done by middle high class society. It is because one, they are privileged enough to buy the food since the vegan diet are usually expensive or more pricey. The second is that they are privileged enough, the middle high society are privileged enough to know how to balance the vegan food in exchange of meat, like how to make equal the consumption of vegetables to fulfill the need of meat, for example, the calories, the nutrition intakes, and all that. They are educated enough. What happened also in society is that middle lower class society are not as privileged to buy the vegan product. They don't have the access of education that educate them enough about calories intakes and nutrition to balance their needs. And usually middle lower class society do more labor works and need more energy that could be supported by eating meat. It is not fair to put this middle lower class society in a position of not eating meat due to their lack of access to purchase vegan foods and education on the calories intake, more with their urgency to provide a living with labor work. But the good news is that the middle lower society still eat vegetables and a more affordable vegan food option along with eating meat. We choose to stick with this scenario and to just provide the society with education on how a balanced meat eating and vegetables, how to balance their meat eating consumption and vegetables. It is possible, and in the current status quo, it already happened. Like for example, in Posyandu or Puskesmas, it is already happening. And the thing is that the society are more and more aware on balancing food with the basic nutrition that includes meat and vegetables. Obesity and cholesterol, like the government bench has told you and mentioned, could be prevented without erasing meat, but putting more control on how to balance the meat consumption and the vegetable, for example. Now, moving on to my third argument when it comes to culture and religion. We think that to allow people to consume meat is not a problem. When you're a Hindu and you're not allowed to consume meat, then it's your choice. But there's other religion like Islam, for example, that has Eid al-Adha, the slaughtery day, to give the meat to the unfortunate. The purpose is good. There is no exchange for these deeds. That's the thing. It is not torturing the animal because even there is rules to put the animal in slaughtery in Islam, such as feed them well, not hurting them, and use the best equipment to make the slaughtery faster to not torture the animals. Now, we think that this will only happen in our side of the house, that we provide the needs of human in terms of cultural and religion needs, and we provide all kind of society with accessible food and their needs of consumption. Panels, we provide you reasons on how the meat consumption is still needed and how the harm that is thrown by the government bench could still be prevented. Therefore, we proud to oppose.